Ever glanced at that, like, perfectly timed flow of trains and thought, who's, like, running this whole intricate operation behind the scenes?
Yeah,
Well, get this. Today, we're diving into a profession that's so much more than just yelling all aboard.
it really is.
Get ready to explore the fascinating world of train dispatchers.
And believe me, it's a world full of surprises when it comes to the skills and responsibilities involved.
To guide us, we're using insights from RoleCatcher. They're like this awesome career platform packed with data-driven advice.
Oh, I've heard of them.
They gave us access to their train dispatcher career guide, and let me tell you, this isn't your run-of-the-mill job description.
Oh, I bet.
It's more like a VIP pass to this whole hidden world.
What's really cool is how RoleCatcher uses data,
Yeah.
to show not only what the job is, but what it actually takes to really excel at it.
Exactly. And one of the first things that struck me from the guide was the emphasis on safety. It's not just about keeping those trains on schedule.
Right.
It's about being the unsung hero, the silent guardian for every single passenger and every piece of cargo on board.
It really makes you appreciate the weight of that responsibility, especially when you read about those real-life scenarios. Like, the guide mentions a dispatcher who had to make a game-time decision during a sudden blizzard.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that pressure, coordinating with the engineers, monitoring those track conditions, all while knowing that lives are literally depending on your next call.
That's intense. The guide talks about how dispatchers need that ability to think on their feet and solve problems in high-pressure situations. And it's not just reacting to those emergencies. It's about staying one step ahead, anticipating what could go wrong.
Absolutely. The guide uses this phrase, managing a complex web of people, logistics, and technology.
Wow.
It's like this high-stakes juggling act, but instead of juggling balls, they're handling train schedules, track switches, and ever-changing conditions.
You said it, juggling, because the guide also stresses the importance of communication and coordination in this role. Dispatchers are this central hub, constantly in contact with conductors, engineers, yardmasters, basically everyone involved in keeping those trains moving smoothly.
It's like RoleCatcher's emphasis on networking and building strong connections.
Oh, yeah.
For a train dispatcher, that network is their lifeline. It's how they stay ahead of potential issues and make sure everything runs without a hitch.
So we're seeing a pattern here.
Hmm.
Safety, critical thinking, communication. It's way more than just meets the eye, right?
Absolutely. And this is where the guide gets even more interesting. It breaks down the different levels of responsibility within the field. They outline a clear career path, from entry level all the way up to...
Head honcho of trains. Okay, maybe not quite, but I love the way you think.
Well, the guide actually calls the top spot something like principal dispatcher.
No.
And it's not just overseeing one line or station. It's about strategic planning for the entire operation, potentially even a whole region.
So you graduate from making sure one train leaves on time to basically conducting the symphony of a whole network of trains. Talk about a job with impact.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop at train dispatcher when it comes to job titles. The guide mentions some pretty interesting alternatives like rail switch person and level crossing signal person. There's a whole world of careers within this sector.
It's like they're saying, sure, if the conductor's hat fits, wear it. But there are other hats to try on in the meantime, too.
Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher's platform really shines. It helps you explore all these different avenues, understand what skills you need, and even connects you with relevant job opportunities.
Speaking of skills, I was blown away by what the guide calls functions and core abilities.
Yeah.
This isn't your typical can you read a timetable kind of thing, is it?
Not even close. It's more like the ultimate checklist for a master strategist. We're talking leadership, risk assessment, even conflict resolution. Remember that blizzard we talked about? Imagine having to make those tough decisions when delays are unavoidable and tensions are running high.
It seems like those skills needed to be a train dispatcher could be applied to so many other fields, too. It's bigger than just trains, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's a key takeaway I hope our listeners grab from this deep dive. While we're focusing on train dispatchers, the skills we're uncovering, adaptability, problem solving, clear communication, those are valuable no matter what career path you're on.
Now, before we get too off track here, pardon the pun, I'm curious about something. We've talked about the mental demands, but what about the actual work environment? What's it like being a train dispatcher?
All right, so picture this. You're in a room, buzzing with energy, screens lit up with maps, schedules, all that real-time data. You're surrounded by the constant hum of communication as you coordinate with your team and take calls from the field.
Sounds intense. but also kind of exciting in a way.
That's the thing about this profession. It's definitely not for everyone, but for those who thrive under pressure, who get a kick out of solving those complex puzzles and ensuring everything runs smoothly, it can be incredibly rewarding.
Okay, so we've established this job needs a unique skill set and you got to have a high tolerance for pressure,
Yeah.
but let's address the elephant in the room, technology.
hmm
We've mentioned it, but how has tech changed the game for modern-day train dispatchers?
You said it, elephant in the room, because its impact is huge. Remember those old-timey pictures?
Oh, yeah, with the giant levers.
Exactly. Dispatchers surrounded by those massive levers, clicking away at those old switchboards.
Like something out of a movie.
Yeah, those days are gone. History.
So what's replaced those levers and switchboards? What's a modern dispatch center really look like?
Well, today's dispatcher, they're equipped with seriously sophisticated software and systems, cutting-edge stuff.
Okay.
I'm talking real-time train tracking,
Wow.
digital communication networks, connecting them instantly to every single moving part of the operation.
So they're like conductors of a high-tech orchestra.
Exactly. And they've got predictive algorithms helping them anticipate and prevent potential delays before they even happen.
It's mind-blowing that the same kind of tech that powers our smartphones is now keeping trains running on schedule.
It really is amazing. And speaking of technology, it's the perfect bridge to talk about RoleCatcher again.
Oh, right.
Because just like those advanced systems aid train dispatchers, RoleCatcher helps you navigate your own career journey
I like that.
with their innovative, data-driven tools.
They make it so much easier.
It's all about using data to your advantage, giving you that extra edge.
You're right. The similarities are striking.
Yeah.
Now, let's dive into those tools a bit.
Okay.
The guide mentioned how competitive this field can be.
Yeah,
And I have a feeling RoleCatcher could be a game changer for anyone trying to break in.
for sure.
Tell me more.
Imagine this. You're prepping for a train dispatcher interview, and bam, you get hit with the dreaded, tell me about a time you had to make a tough decision under pressure.
Oh, I'd freeze up.
Right. It's nerve-wracking. But here's where RoleCatcher comes in. They have this massive library of over 120,000 practice interview questions with tons specifically designed for aspiring train dispatchers.
Well, that's a lot.
It's incredible. So you can practice those curveball questions and nail your answers.
That's amazing. It's like having a sneak peek at the interviewer's notes.
Precisely. And it gets even better. They have this AI-powered tool called RoleCatcher Copilot AI. It analyzes your practice answers, gives you personalized feedback on everything, your content, delivery, everything.
It's like having your own personal interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly.
That's incredible. But RoleCatcher doesn't just stop at interview prep, do they?
No way.
Right.
Remember when the guide talked about that complex web of people, logistics, and technology?
Yeah.
Well, understanding that complexity is key when you're putting together your job application, you need to stand out. That's where RoleCatcher's job spec analysis swoops in.
Okay, what's
It
that?
basically dissects job descriptions, right? Highlights the exact skills and qualifications those employers want to see.
It's like a cheat code for job postings.
Yeah.
No more second guessing if you're a good fit.
Exactly. And if you do find some gaps in your skill set, no worries. RoleCatcher's skills gap analysis has your back.
Tell me more.
So this feature pinpoints exactly where you might need to brush up, then recommends courses, certifications, or training programs.
Wow.
It's like having your own personalized roadmap for professional growth, guiding you towards success.
So RoleCatcher not only helps you understand what it takes to be a trained dispatcher, it also equips you with the tools to actually land the job.
Precisely. It's about giving you control of your career path, just like a trained dispatcher controls the rails. Which reminds me, going back to the guide for a sec.
Yep.
Their section on technology advances was super insightful.
Totally. It really highlights how far we've come from those old-timey railroads.
Exactly. The guide talks about things like positive train control, PTC, which is designed to prevent accidents like collisions and derailments by automatically enforcing speed limits and other safety protocols.
It's reassuring to know they've got such advanced safety measures in place, especially with how fast trains travel these days.
Absolutely. And these advancements aren't just about safety. They're making the entire rail network more efficient and increasing its capacity.
That's amazing. But with all this new tech, it seems like train dispatchers need to constantly be learning and adapting.
You got it. And the guide really emphasizes professional development. They suggest things like attending industry conferences, joining professional organizations.
Okay.
Basically anything to actively expand your knowledge and stay up to date.
So the learning never really stops in this field, huh?
It's true. You have to be adaptable and always ready to embrace new technologies and procedures. But it's not just about keeping up with the latest gadgets.
It's about those core skills too, right?
Yeah.
Communication, thinking critically, problem solving.
Yeah.
Like those are the foundation for being a good train dispatcher.
Exactly. The guide actually made a point that really resonated with me. Staying calm, cool, and collected when things get hairy. Because, let's be real, in this line of work, something unexpected is always around the corner.
So you're telling me it's about staying totally zen while managing a million things at once. Where do I sign up? Just kidding. But seriously, that sounds like the kind of job that really attracts a certain personality type.
It definitely does. You got to be someone who's energized by a challenge, who enjoys the mental puzzle of it all, anticipating problems and coming up with solutions before things even have a chance to go off the rails.
And you probably can't be too bothered by a wonky schedule either. The guy did mention that shift work is a pretty big part of the job.
Yeah, definitely. Trains operate 247, 365 days a year. So dispatchers need to be ready to work evenings, weekends, holidays, you name it. They've probably worked it.
It's a good reminder that every career path has those kind of like give and take aspects. But for someone who's drawn to that fast-paced, high-stakes environment of train dispatching, those trade-offs, they might be a small price to pay.
Especially when you consider that feeling of satisfaction, knowing you're playing such a crucial role, keeping a whole system running smoothly, that's got to feel pretty good.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a career that often flies under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
but it impacts so many people in so many ways every single day. We depend on trains for transportation, for getting those goods shipped, for keeping communities connected. And behind the curtain, it's those train dispatchers, making sure those connections stay strong.
And if there's anyone listening who's thinking, maybe this is the path for me, or even if you're just a little curious and want to see what's out there, RoleCatcher has your back.
Totally. They really do. From getting you prepped for interviews to navigating that job search jungle to figuring out any skills you might need to brush up on,
Yeah.
they've got it all covered.
Yep.
So whether you're a seasoned pro thinking about a change or you're just starting to dip your toes into those career waters, never underestimate the power of data-driven guidance.
It's like having a compass to guide you through what can feel like, a pretty overwhelming career landscape sometimes.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of trained dispatchers, I'm honestly in awe of how complex the work is, and I have a whole new level of respect for the people who do this day in and day out. It's so much more than just a job. It's this intricate dance of logistics, technology, and pure human ingenuity.
It really is. And if there's one big takeaway I hope sticks with our listeners from this deep dive, it's this.
Okay, I'm listening.
That ability to learn, adapt, and roll with the punches, it's not just a nice to have anymore, it's essential. Just like our train dispatchers staying ahead of the game to keep those trains running, we all need to embrace that spirit of continuous learning to truly thrive in whatever we choose to do.
That's a powerful message. So, to everyone listening, whether you're considering a future as a train dispatcher or you're simply captivated by this behind-the-scenes world we've uncovered today, remember this. The journey of learning and growth, it's just as important as the destination itself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep those wheels turning.